What's going on, guys? I just want to make a quick video on Ethereum Classic here. So, I mean, it's definitely been holding this lower support here pretty dang well. And it's getting extremely tight right now in this, what kind of looked like a descending triangle a little bit, but does have this upper sloping support here. I'm still looking at this overall, kind of looks like a larger pennant here. But, you know, if this ends up turning into some type of W here, you could actually get a pretty decent break. Now, of course, we still need to confirm some support holds up in this range here of 135. We got to pop that and back test it. I mean, we could pop it here, rip to this 158, come back. I don't know how bullish it's really going to get, or it could pop, get resistance, pop, then come back. I don't know. Obviously, I don't have a fortune. I don't have a fortune teller here to tell me what it's going to do, but looking at what's going on here, it's a lot of indecision. Very, very, very low volume. We've been consolidating quite some time, just chopping in here. We had all these moving averages cross right here on the 1 hour. On the 2 hour, we're kind of getting ready to cross here. It's not the best looking 2 hour candle, not the best looking 3 hour candle. We're getting pushed down here with the 20 EMA. So, I mean, yes, there's a lot of kind of more bearish looking things here, especially with this 20 EMA here rolling down. I didn't notice that till just now, which would be right around 124-ish. So, I mean, we could, if we do get some kind of pop here, we could hit this 124 and get rejected. If we can pop above it, though, we could change the whole sentiment here. So I'd be looking for that personally. I mean, looking at this 15-minute, though, you can see here that if you zoom in, we just got a nice pop right here. We're getting resistance on this 121, but we are starting to roll up here. We're making an extremely clear W. Now, of course, we have been doing that, all these W's this whole way, which is a bullish thing. We're not sitting here emming out and going further and further down potentially. I mean, obviously, this is kind of an M, but not really. So, I mean, those are kind of good signs. In that aspect, you can see this huge W here on the RSI, bullish divergence here, slightly higher on the right on the RSI, and we're straight across there. So, I mean, yeah, we're going to get this pop right now, probably above this. We're getting resistance here on this 200 EMA on the 15-minute time frame. If we can pop this 122 here, we're going to have to watch and see what happens. You know, you can look down at the 5-minute. You can see a very, very clean W here, which, you know, potentially could bring us up to this level here of 124, what we just talked about here, somewhere in this box area, if this does end up getting some type of W break. So this actually doesn't look too bad here. So we could pop up here, and whether we consolidate or we end up rolling over and then coming back, and we'll have to see what happens there, because if we do end up having some type of fake out, obviously that's a bearish thing, and that will probably result in us getting rejected by this 4-hour 20 EMA here. But let's just look at the I mean, we're going to get squeezed right now. I mean, we're starting to get close to being squeezed between this 20 EMA here, and we've been getting rejected here by this 20 EMA on the 4-hour 124. So we kind of want to get above this 126 here. I mean, this candle here is more of like a trend reversal style candle here on the 4-hour. That was printed right around, well, I don't even fucking know. I hate military time. No offense. I just can't read it. That's why I hate it. That was, well, that was 12, 1, 2. So, I don't even know, dude. I'm sorry. Now I sound like an idiot. But needless to say, this is 20 o'clock, whenever that was, 4 hours. Every candle's 4 hours. Now I sound like an idiot. But yeah, can't do the math right now. You guys are putting me under pressure here. So anyway, you know, depending on what this next 4-hourly candle looks like, which could be at 11 o'clock, I think, we could see some type of move here. But if we lose this lower support, which would be right around 116-ish, we can definitely have a breakdown here. We don't want to lose that, but I definitely could see that this is, potentially getting some round. Well, that's obviously got the rounding action, and this is starting to get that rounding action. So if we actually turn that into a very, very clean W, it's going to end up looking something like that. And then depending on what happens from there, we'll have to see. And then it could end up being some type of inverse head and shoulders or something like that. So, I mean, I would keep your eyes on this thing because it could be breaking out or trying to make some type of move. So, I mean, that's usually how I would play a thing. Like, yeah, obviously we have this pattern here, this downward sloping resistance. We still need to pop that to get really bullish here and consolidate on it. But this is just a smaller pattern here that could bring us up to this upper resistance, which if we actually did something like that, took the break here, that break is going to most likely, if we break out, bring us up to about, it could bring us up to a $140 with the exception of a lot of resistance still, 126. I mean, it depends how much power we're going to pop with here. So, we're getting some nice volume here on the 1 hour, which is good to see. And you can see the spinning top here is insinuating that this wick to the downside, obviously, is indecision. Which way are we going to go? With this here, the buyers pushed the price up, got rejected. The sellers pushed us down, tried to push us lower, but the buyers bought us back up. We ended up closing right here. You can kind of see by all these candlesticks, like, what's been going on here and who's been in charge and who hasn't. And, obviously this was starting to look pretty healthy here, and then we ended up just getting a fake out. So this is very, very strong resistance right here. So, with that being said, we are getting to decision time of the smaller pattern here. So we're going to want to keep our eyes out on that for sure. But we do look like we're setting up on the 30-minute here too. So I don't know. I'm kind of feeling pretty good right now about this. I'm liking all this W action happening. So I would just keep your eyes on ETC. And, obviously we have these resistances above at 140, 146, 158, and then the ultimate resistance here was our recent peak of 176. But this could be a very, very good move, depending on if it's a bull pennant or if it's just a big, big pennant here that could bring us like a target of eventually, depending on where we break it, could bring us back to test that high. I mean, if we broke like somewhere right here, it could be 170. If we broke somewhere closer to here, still around 170. I mean, we broke higher up. We ended up ripping from here. Could bring us to 170. I mean, I guess it's all pretty dang close to the same, but if we can break this area here and catch some support, something else can get formed above. So that's just a smaller target. And if you wanted to take a really, really big target, which could be, a little while, but let's check it out. If we took this and this whole move here is a massive bull pennant, then this is the extremely bullish case. So, don't freak out too much, but if it would let me grab this thing, we would bring the pull all the way up. And guess what that would bring us to? $250. Now, it would coincide a little bit with what we talked about in a recent video here. I've noticed with crypto, when you take these peaks, right, previous peaks, and you run a trend line across each peak, it actually can give you a pretty good size area of a measured move here. So depending on how this ran up, It's not going to go, I mean, I don't think it's going to go straight up. If it went straight up from here, you're going to slam 208. But if you actually come up, back test, come up, consolidate, back test, come up, so on and so forth, maybe come forward, rip, boom, hit there, that's around 240, you know. So it really depends on how fast you get up here. And if you break this, obviously, and confirm some support on there, that's a whole different story. You know, we could potentially, what would I do? I don't really like doing that because, I mean, that was kind of that long-term support, I guess, potentially. Something like this. And we bounced right off it. You know, bearish case scenario would be like big rejection, breakdown, takes a little while to get there, big bounce, and a rip off of that. You know, it depends on how this goes. We have to see. Like I said, right now it looks a little bit more bearish. Obviously, the smaller time frames are telling us something different, but right now you can see this is just our first red candle, you know, of this whole run. So it doesn't really have to mean it's the top here, but we did get this big spinning top here, which is technically a warning sign. But now we're kind of getting this, like, it's kind of printing like a reversal candle a little bit. Sometimes that can insinuate trend reversal. So the question is, are we reversing to the downside or are we reversing to the upside? And we already kind of hit the upside. How high has this thing gone? This is the highest. So, I mean, if we ever were looking back at this chart here, for anyone that was like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy it at 50, I'm scared. And you look here, look where we were. We were around 50 bucks. We were just testing this old all-time high here. So once you break that, it's a blue sky breakout. There's no real resistance above, which is what allows us to blast off the way we did. And, you know, if you ever wonder, like, oh, you know, why would this thing pop off? Nobody would be able to tell why that did that. And, you know, of course, you know, it's still a little tricky here. But one thing that you can do is try to figure out what kind of pattern we were in and what caused it. So we had nice double bottom here, rejection, came down, crossed this here, and then we finally started heading out, you know. We could have went by that. We could have, you know, you could go by something like this too, depending on where you ended up breaking out completely. Was kind of right there. You could do something like that. But another thing to look at with stocks and cryptos and everything, which, you know, most stocks in the stock market are already ripping, you know, and this thing right here on the weekly is at a 96 RSI. So, like, it is a little sketchy, but you do have all the moving averages crossing up, which is a good thing. But something to look at in stocks and in crypto is this area here on a weekly time frame. And what you want to see, whether these moving averages are converting like that, or say your stock is like riding under the 20-week EMA, which is the yellow here. Say it gets a nice candle spike, close, and the next candle kind of stays above it, whether it's right on it or higher up. That's a very good entry point for a very good long position. You can see here, we lifted off here, and we just started maintaining above this 20. We got a very good pop here, even though the volume is pretty low. Right here, even though we went sideways, we were confirming like support on this green, which is the 200 EMA. So, I mean, it's just something to consider. Like, it's a very good place to go long on stocks and on crypto is once you pop and confirm support above a 20-week EMA. So if you ever wonder, like, oh, how do people find things breaking out, like, before they go, like, parabolic and shit, you know? That's what you look for. you look at the 20-week EMA and you want to see how it's been reacting. So you look back in your trend, you know, and you could see like we started catching resistance under here. Once we got above it here, we did get a pop. Of course, you can't always call the tops or anything. You'd have to use previous resistance and support, which is why anytime you see me charting, I'm always doing this, through slapping this across, and previous resistance, previous support, and that's going to give me like basically an edge against the market. Like a lot of traders are looking at stuff like that, like how do we figure out where things could get resistance, you know? Look at this wick here that came up, boom. All these wicks here. You know, you could put one down here too. You know, you could find all these areas, but I like to find the areas with most confluence. Big wick, buy back up. Couple wicks here. Once we fell through this level, we pretty much dipped, so that to me was pretty strong. I mean, we could put it here too. But then when you're here and you go, oh, we're popping, where could we get resistance? Well, if I'm buying here at $5, this resistance is right up here around 11 bucks, right? You don't know where exactly it's going to go. And yeah, it popped up 13, but you could sell here like 11.8. Buy here, sell here, or buy here at the break of the 21, whatever, you know? And that just kind of shows you. And then look what happened over here. We popped it, we came back, we wicked a lot below it. But this final catch and confirm of this weekly 200 EMA here was when we just ripped. And then our next area was like right around here or here. And we didn't really get stumped on it. We just blasted right through. You know, we might have got stumped here a little bit, but then the next weekly candle, we just like completely ripped. And we've been ripping ever since. So, you know, that being said, I know this is a long video, but I'm just trying to wait it out a little bit, honestly, to see how this price action is going to turn out here. And, you know, usually when you get to the end of an apex, it's not usually a good thing. Usually you're going to break down at the end of an apex here. So waiting to the very end, you're really getting squeezed here. And, of course, we could draw these lines a little bit better if we wanted. But, I mean, you can kind of just see we're getting rejected there by the 20 EMA on the 3 hour. We're just tapping that. That's 121. So, you know, we really got to get above this area here to be really safe. So I'm kind of killing time here because I don't want this video to go out too quick and like people get all hyped up and like, oh, I'm buying. But, you know, look at what we're getting resistance on right now. It's 121.4. I mean, it's all lining up in confluence with each other. So we really need to find some support above that 122. But it is starting to look like it could roll around here. We just have to see. We got a little bit longer here, but usually, like I said, you get to the end of the apex, either it's going to just completely rip because you're getting so much consolidation and like getting so tight, or it's going to just completely roll over. So, I mean, you can kind of see everything is turning up, though. You can see these RSIs rolling up. See the volumes picking up. We are like kind of in a round bottom here. I mean, when you go to the smaller time frames, you can see how it's slowly picking up more and more. But doesn't have to hold here, so we just have to be cautious. You know, if you wanted to trade a 5-minute like scalping, you could just be like, oh, you know, something like, I don't know, maybe I'd go by these because these pretty consecutive. You could go like that and be like, oh, look at this. On the 5-minute, we ripped. We got all these EMAs crossing bullish. This is going to push us up a little bit. We're a little overextended, kind of, not really, but, you know, we're up here. And if you look in the left here, every time in the 5-minute, you get up above this dotted line, you start dropping again. So you could kind of think that, you know, we're probably not going to go much further here. So you kind of expect that it might just have a little drop here maybe, and then roll up like that, which that drop could look something like this. You know what I mean? But, you know, not really that healthy to trade a 5-minute because I never really trade a 5-minute unless, like, I'm really scalping a bottom position potentially. You know, sometimes I'll watch a 15-minute just to see a bounce. I'll jump back and forth from the 5-minute, see if we're rolling or not. decide if I want to get in on anything, but I never really trade that too much. I like to look for hourly closes and confirmations. So we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, if this is gearing up for a good setup. If you get a big pop here, candle, let that close, let the next one open above, let that close. You could enter, or you could wait for it to lift above here, open up here, wait for that to close, and then see if you get up in this area. You could enter way up there. I mean, it really depends how you want to do it. That's a long time for waiting, of course, because you could get a better entry, or you could start nibbling if you see us getting some like 15-minute closes above that look pretty decent. Just got to keep an eye on it, because like this is obviously like kind of a spinning top. You want to see more of like this flat bottom style candle, but this obviously had a super long wick, which is kind of showing that like the sellers are kind of pushing it down here. But we are finally popping this 20 EMA here, even though it's only on a 45-minute, and we have had that happen before. But you could also almost watch the 45-minute too, because you can see, I mean, not really, because this could get a 45-minute close above the 20 EMA, then the following one is a spinning top, and then it ends up rolling, so it fakes you out. But I would definitely just kind of be watching these candles, see what you can get. If you continuously get like good green bars closing, I mean, as long as this RSI is not like way up here, you can expect that you're most likely going to be good. So I'm going to put this video here. I know it's kind of long, but if you guys appreciate this and you made it to the end, feel free to hit the like button. You know, I'm trying to get some stuff out for you guys a little more, because I've been posting so much on TradingView as quick as I can. It's way quicker than making a video. But let's just wait and see what happens here. I mean, it's really trying hard to get above here. So let's just keep an eye on everything. I just literally, when I'm scalping for a trade, I'm like looking like this. You can see we're getting that pop on the 15-minute there. You know, obviously I'm not going to trade this. We're not even, you know, no confirmations. We're still underneath these EMAs here. You could use all your indicators if you want. You can slap a TD sequential. You can slap an Ichimoku cloud. You can see this. This is good to see too. Look at Ichimoku cloud. You can see this red here. This is all the resistance above we've been building. You know, you want to see us get above that, close full body candles above, and start confirming it as support. Like a good example of that would be, well, I mean, that's not the best example, but I mean, kind of is. You had a rip past the red resistance. I mean, you still have to come back potentially to test it, but if you entered here at this 120 at the time, you never even touched 120 again since. Oh, okay, that's not a good example. That one came back all the way to back test. It's a wrong spot. Where was the actual breakout? Right here. This was the breakout of the, well, it was way down. But look at how good this red resistance here supported the trend the whole way up. You know, and that's where it becomes like with the Ichimoku cloud. It becomes, are we breaking this trend here? Because now we went from this whole trend up here, and this is only on the 15-minute, but still, the whole trend up, we were above that red Ichimoku cloud, and then we dumped below it for the first time right here. That was really your first sell signal, potentially. Doesn't have to be, but like if you're doing a swing trade. And now what's happened ever since we dumped below, we've pretty much never been able to find support on it again. So, you know, you can't really say you're getting bullish until you can start confirming some support up here, which is why I'm saying like 122, you know, ish, 123. Plus, you still know that on the 4 hour here that you have this 20 EMA here, way up here at this 124.6 roughly, and it can wick that and hit this purple 125.5. You know, you got a lot of resistance above, but depending on if you can get some decent power out of here, we can, you know, pop some of this, see what happens. So, I mean, I would just keep watching. So right now in the 5-minute, you know, you could kind of scalp this a little bit and see what happens here as you pop this 119 here. You know, you just got to watch. This is what I would do if I'm literally like, I want to get in on a trade and I'm bored, I got nothing to do, or I'm just watching price action just to learn, see what's happening, I'll throw my Ichimoku cloud up here, and I'll see how everything plays out. Like, even watching on the 5 minutes kind of fun if you enjoy this stuff. Like me, I love looking at stuff, even if I'm not even trading right now, because I'm not even in a position here. I'm just kind of watching and see how it plays out. I'm looking at this resistance that was built on even on the 5 minute, and I'm just going to kind of watch. You can see it's 9:58 right now, Eastern time for me, and you can see that we're going to get an hourly candle close in about 2 minutes. So you know what? I'm just going to keep this video open. This is why I wish I could do lives. I got to get 1,000 subscribers for that, though, because this would be kind of fun to open up a live and just kind of watch things, trade, see if anything's confirmed, if anything looks like a good trade, and we can watch everything kind of happen live. Unfortunately, I can't do that yet. But, I mean, we have bullish divergence here on the 1 hour. You can see how this is sloping. It kind of looks like a nice, like, W a little bit. Sometimes even trading to, like, changing to, like, lines. It's not that good. But it is good to show you a break of a resistance or support, I guess, potentially. But I never really used lines. I just was trying to prove an example. I thought it was going to work out for me, but I use Heikin Ashi anyway, even though there's so many wicks here. Just so much indecision. But I do like that volume spike so far, which is a good sign because the market's agreeing right now. That's what volume really shows you, that the market usually is agreeing with this going the direction it is. If we were starting to look like this, getting these pops, and our volume was super low, like really low, like this, then, you wouldn't really want to be trading it, Right here, if you were starting to buy right here, oh my God, it's at 130. I'm going to get in. And look at their volume. It's nothing. But right here, spinning top, oh, I don't know yet. It doesn't look like anything's going. All of a sudden, boom, volume spike. But you still have this resistance above here, which if you had the Ichimoku cloud on, you would see right here, look at this upper green line. We tapped that Ichimoku cloud. Even though we had that nice volume to push us up, we got rejected right there. And then we never got above it, really. We tried to confirm it a few times, but eventually we just sold off. And there was no volume besides this one big spike here to push us from, 111 or 114 up to that Ichimoku cloud. And then we just rolled over. And now we're just starting to get like a decent volume spike here. Decent. So now your next hourly candle is opening right now. So we're getting close to the end of this apex here, and we're starting to lift off. So what you'd want to wait for now, you still have to be patient. I mean, you could have already bought, obviously. Look at the 2 hour here. We're kind of opening a candle here. You could try them, but it's kind of risky. But if you know what you're doing here, I mean, potentially you could say, I'm going to wait and see if we can pop some of this resistance here. But you don't want to get too anxious. I mean, yeah, if you bought like somewhere in this 118, you might be safe. If you slap a stop loss down here at 117, see what happens. I mean, I'd probably stop a stop loss. If I was going to say, I feel like this is going up, I'd slap a stop loss here, 116.70, enter my trade somewhere in this 118, and see what happens. But, I mean, if we don't actually, on the next candle close, if it ends up just being a spinning top, it can easily just fall back down here to this lower support, break down, or whatever. So you really want to see how that next hourly candle opens. If you can open like up here, which right now it does look like we might, as long as we don't change this candle here. If it closes like that, it's going to most likely open here. And then you want to see what this next candle is going to do. Is it going to be a spinning top? Are we going to get a big bounce up here? And we still have resistance above. And even once we get up here, we still have a lot of resistance above. So, you could start entering some trades down here with your stop loss below. And then if you break this, you got to expect that we're going to catch a lot of resistance right here. Once you get a pop above that, another candle closed above that, some nice volume confirming everything, then you can probably enter there, because even though we have this uptrending resistance that might give a little bit of trouble, pretty much once you get above that, it should be a pretty easy breakout, in my opinion. Once you're above all this resistance, this will just kind of be probably like psychological based off of trend lines, if anyone's even drawing it like this. I mean, I could be wrong. This could be, no, this could be something like, you know, that, which actually would make a lot more sense. Because now, looking at it like that, you got your resistance here, you got resistance here. And then what do you got? You got really resistance here, so you could almost go tighter than that. If you really wanted to make it safe on yourself, you could do something like that. Because even though it's not lining up perfectly, once you pop this, close above this shit right here, all this red, nothing above. Where's your resistance? Psychological, really, would be this area here, maybe. Or even this area here. So, depending on how this works out, we just got to see. Now, of course, we haven't even rolled on the daily yet. So all this price action is happening here, but we don't even have any spikes on the daily. We still had this bearish divergence, this hidden bearish divergence that obviously has been playing out. We haven't got a true bounce yet. We haven't got a true bounce in the 4 hour. So, you can get all excited and shit, but you still have to expect that we're going to get rejected here somewhere in this 124 area. I mean, we haven't even popped 121. So, yeah, it looks all exciting on the smaller time frames, but there's a lot of stuff that still needs to happen in order to confirm anything. But I know this video is super long. It's probably boring as hell unless you like this stuff, but I'm just kind of going over a few things for the hell of it. But, yeah, I mean, it's something to keep an eye on. I mean, like I said, I mean, would I actually put in a trade somewhere in here? I don't know if I would. Like, I'm kind of looking at this, liking what I'm seeing on the smaller time frames, but on the larger time frames, not as much. So, I mean, if I was going to put money on it and, like, wanted to risk some money, I'd probably be waiting to see because, I mean, even right now, looking at the 3 hour, we're kind of in this cloud here, which is still good to be in the cloud, but where's the resistance of this cloud? Right up here at 123-ish. And then when you get up here, you're going to have resistance right there too. So, I mean, you got a lot of resistance that we got to pop. But you just look at all these things here, and you can kind of see how it plays out. So, I mean, I'd watch and see if we can kind of flag out and turn this back to support here above this 123. And if you can pop up here, start flagging, then you could start moving up. But, I mean, until then, you're just going to have to kind of watch and see what happens. I mean, it's slowly moving. It's slowly trying to do something. But it just has a lot to push itself. Pushing up against it, you know. And you can kind of see we're rolling a little bit on the RSI there in the 15-minute. But we are flagging on the 5-minute technically right above this resistance we were talking about, this red resistance. So, I mean, if you wanted to put an entry in, you could, like, just slap a stop loss down at, like, I'd probably slap a stop loss somewhere below this cloud, like 118. And, you could put a stop loss below here if you wanted 119 or something, but just my ideas. Just know that you got a lot of resistance above. All right, that's it. Peace.